Hey y'all, happy Wednesday. So we're picking back up where we left off yesterday. And we were talking a little bit about Satan and the way he is such a master deceiver. But thankfully, we can pray and we can be sensitive to the Holy Spirit who lives and resides on the inside of us, to have ears to hear and eyes to see, heart to receive only the voice of our Father. Again, John 10, Jesus says, "My sheep know my voice, and another voice they will not follow." But the only way you're going to know his voice is if you spend time listening to his voice. So back to Genesis chapter 3. And Satan saying, can it really be that God has said, "You shall not eat from every tree of the garden"? And then, of course, the woman engages in conversation with the serpent. We should never engage in conversation with Satan. Never engage in conversation. When the thought comes, when the question of doubt comes, when questioning the word is brought to your attention, we immediately say, like Jesus did in the wilderness, "It is written, God has said, that is enough." God said, I can't add any more to that. But my reason for my position and the stance that I'm taking on this issue is God said, yes, it can really be that God has said he would take care of my needs. Yes, it can be that God really did say he would take sickness and disease out of the midst of us. Yes, it really can be that God has said he would protect me. Yes, it really can be that God has said. But the woman didn't say that. She said, "We may eat the fruit from the trees of the garden, except the fruit from the tree which is in the middle of the garden. God has said, you shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die." Don't engage in conversation with the enemy, because even at that, she added to what God had said. He didn't say don't touch it. He said don't eat it. Well, the other thing, bottom line, that I feel like we need to say is that Satan already knows the truth. He already knew the answer to the question that he posed to Eve. He already knew what God had said. And so his presenting it to her was to find out, did she really know what God had said? And so after this, conversation, he knew that she did not know, because she gave the wrong answer. And so for you and I, when that thought comes, when the voice of the enemy comes and he begins to question what God has said, or he begins to press you to question, he already knows what God has said. He is well aware of what God's promise is and for his people. But the real question is, do we know what God has said? Do we know what that promise is? Because if we know what his promise is, and we know what good he has promised us, would we let it go so easily? Would we let it go in having conversation with the enemy? But she did not know. She did not know. And so, but the serpent said to the woman, "You shall not surely die. For God knows in the day that you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil, blessing and calamity." And so now Satan again brings more questions and more doubt. But that's how he operates. And that same type of scenario that we have read in Genesis, where Satan talked mankind out of the Garden of Eden, is how he talks us out of walking victoriously now. That's how he talks us out of the promise now. He spins it in such a way that makes us doubt and question in the way things look currently versus the way things God promised them to be versus what we don't see going on in the supernatural. We'll pick up here again tomorrow. I'll see you then. Bye, y'all.